With no further delay, thank you for joining us today for a special meeting. Study session agenda today includes, today is Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. It's now 6:03. This electric meeting will be held via Google Meet due to current safeguards in place for COVID-19. The link can be posted on the district website in advance of meeting. Can we call this meeting to order, please? Roll call.
Beard. Can you hear me?
Yes,
No.
I'm here, and I guess we have to restate that I'm reporting from remotely from Romulus, Michigan.
Yeah, let me interject and thank you, Ms. Beard. Pursuant to Senate Bill 1108, board member that attends a meeting remotely may participate and vote in the meeting, provided there is two-way communication and a public announcement at the beginning of the meeting that by that member that the member is attending the meeting remotely. If the member is attending the meeting remotely for a purpose other than military duty, the member's announcement must further identify specifically the member's physical location by stating the county, city, township, or village and state from which he or she is attending the meeting remotely. Please proceed. Thank you, Ms. Beard. You're on mute, Ms. Wester.
Sorry, Piles. Terrell.
Present, attending, Romulus, Michigan.
Kennard. Piles.
Present, attending remotely from Romulus, Michigan.
Kennard. Wester is present, attending remotely from Romulus, Michigan. Martell.
Present, attending remotely from Romulus, Michigan. And we do have a quorum. Please let the record reflect that Ms. Funderburg does have an excused absence, excuse me.
Thank you.
So I'm going to proceed. Thank you. And please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by myself, Martell, supported by Ms. Wester. If there's no discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Piles.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
Terrell.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Martell.
Yes. Agenda is approved. And now we're going to open it up for public comment as usual. And I see that Ms. Kennard just joined us. Ms. Kennard, if you'd like to introduce yourself and then indicate where you're joining the meeting from remotely, please.
Thank you. This is Judy Kennard, and I'm joining from Romulus, Michigan.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. Once again, we're going to open the meeting back up for public comment. As usual, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, no personal attacks, and the floor is open. If there is none, we will get right into business. What we are here for today is the Career and Technical Education Update, and I will turn the floor over to Dr. Benjamin Edmondson.
Thank you,
Our
President Mark.
superintendent. Yes, sir.
I imagine everybody can hear me. If you can't, I think you probably should mute. As you know, we have quite My dog just came in. Sorry. Chill out. As you know, we have a CTE program that is in need of direction. The Board of Education enlisted the services of Dr. Vernon Harlan, who has vast experience in the CTE world. He's been working with us for the last year now. This meeting is about getting an update and trying to find out where we are, where we're going, the cost, the direction. As I've said before, I take my orders from the Board of Education. That's important for everybody to know. And pretty much those that are in the district take their lead from me. As I had stated in the last meeting of the Board of Education, I just need the direction from the board to determine where we're going to go. But I also realize in my conversations with board members that we have different information. There's just different information. This meeting is to provide open information, to have open dialogue, and to determine what our next steps would be. I have an informal agenda that I have for everyone that's here, those that are participating, and it begins with Dr. Harlan just giving a 15-minute update presentation, just giving us information that we all need, and then it will be followed up with IDS update from Mr. Sam Shelley, which is the architectural firm, who's going to provide us the cost, the timelines, pending projects. We will then move to the Board Finance Committee and update just on in terms of where we are financially with the sinking fund and how we will move forward using those funds. We will then move to the high school leadership with Ms. Crockett, who is helping lead CTE, and the teachers. I believe there are some teachers that are involved. So Ms. Crockett will update us. Then we'll move to questions and answers, primarily from the Board of Education at this point, determining where we're going to go, what their questions are. I need everybody to know what's going on, where we're headed. And then hopefully we can schedule a walkthrough of the high school today, checking our schedules and determining when we're going to do that, and then follow up with next steps. I think the next steps are very important. As for me, I need direction on where to go. I need direction, again, from the Board of Education, because they're the ones that to whom I am accountable, not just the community, but the Board of Education. So at this time, I would just like to say, this is not, I'm in the town. I work in the town, so I know what's going on too. Depending on who you're with, there's no political agenda on my part whatsoever. The bottom line for me is, where are we going? Okay. I have to get excited. I need to know the plan, because I have to get out there, and truly I'm the one that's going to be pushing this out to the community. So I need to have direction from the school board in terms of what you want from me and how you want me to. You probably don't want how I want to accomplish it, but I need to know what the plan is. Is there a 3 to 5 year plan? Okay. And so this is about getting information, but I need everybody to be open and honest. I need everybody to assume positive intent. We're not going back 5 years ago, 3 years ago. No need to throw shade on anyone. We're trying to move the district forward, and that's my job, is to move us forward. If you've had a bad relationship with somebody in the past, please leave that alone. This is about moving the district forward. Each of us, or the Board of Education, you are voting members. Let's move forward. Let's move forward and give me the direction so that I can work with my team in getting us and getting the community excited about the potential offerings. So I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Harlan, and he's got 15 minutes. If I could have Dr. Laws, would you be so kind and just keep us on track time-wise? Dr. Harlan has 15 minutes to just give us an update, and then we'll move on to Mr. Michelli. So without further ado, for those that do not know him, this is Dr. Vernon Harlan, who is an expert in the CTE, all aspects of CTE. So Dr. Harlan, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Edmondson.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we, in the last board meeting when I gave my report, was to give the strengths and weaknesses of the CTE program and where it stands. And you all have this report. So this report is 286 pages with evidence attached to it. Well, some of the things that we found was that there were 6 courses of students that were non-CTE taught by CTE teachers. I'm just go by briefly. That's 229 students that we can't count or get any reimbursement for. Then we had 154 students that were non-completers. That's the only way that you receive your money. They have to be completers. And I went over that with the principals and also to the superintendent. So in the meeting also too, in the report, I pointed out that in just a 3-year analysis of all the programs you had, a total cost of over $2 million, now it's probably 3, and you had enrolled of 2,217 students enrolled, but only 523 students that completed their programs. And just last year in 2019-20, you have 415 students enrolled in CTE and only 63 students completed the program. That's very low number. So the area's concern is that I have to take a look at the financial, I have to look at the program, and all the other things that are attached to it. So, and all this is in my report. So I came back with the issues of what we call mandatory requirements we have to meet. And I had a whole list of them, from equipment to the program being compliant. You already have that in your report. We're still working on being compliant by the state and the federal. So what came up on this one here is that in the issue of reimbursement, there was a program, for example, and on the last page in my recommendation in page 74, I said in 3-year analysis, how we can turn around, and because the question that come up in Perkins 5 is you have to have credentialing. None of those programs had credentialing. Only one had credentialing, and that was like a Microsoft certification. That's not gonna fly. So they require this. We can't get around that. So I said, well, what we'll do is we'll create a unique program where it's barber and also too it's cosmetology 21st century. The cost I asked for the board was $50,000. That's to get the furniture and the supplies. I still have money left over. The room that we actually picked, and we have went many meetings about this, and it came to $262,000. But what I showed, and I said this back in November, and I said it again, that because we have to eliminate 3 programs. One is family consumers that Ms. Willard does a fabulous job, but she has the highest numbers. But according to MDE, we do not receive any type of reimbursement. So if it's almost $100,000 a year, you can imagine that come out of general fund. The whole initial thing was remove programs out of our general fund to move them more into our Perkins and added costs, so we can offset that. So I say if we have family consumer science and power plant, which we were paying out of general, we only had about 3 to 4 students, and also to computer programming, that we would save about $350,000. So what we're doing is taking the program and making them more accessible, that in a sense we receive more reimbursement. The other thing was I had spoke with Ms. Willerick and several people, and it was, if we're going to take out the family consumers, then the teacher cadet program, which they love her, they're going to switch over there, and she's been asking for it. But now we will receive 61A money and Perkins money. So I'm going to reserve some of my time and basically turn over to Ms. Nolan. Ms. Nolan was on our original board, and we had an award-winning advisory board, and we had several meetings. And to put this, not only this whole program together, but said that we had a outstanding advisory board that was committed. And we had community people, we had people as far as Ferndale, Oak Park. So Ms. Nolan, could you give the board and members here about your vision for the 21st century for that cosmetology and barbering program?
Yes, I can. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Nolan. I'm excited and proud to be the CTE cosmetology teacher at Romulus High School. The vision for the Gen Z cosmetology and barbering is to cultivate licensed beauty and wellness industry professionals. which encompass, I apologize, I'm a little nervous, encompasses new and innovative career opportunities that include product development, trichology, along with nails, skin, and hair care services. According to Forbes magazine, the global beauty industry is a $532 billion business and is expected to reach or exceed $800 billion by the year 2025. Private beauty colleges are acquiring this industry's public school population at the tune of 26,000 plus, depending on where that student decides to go. Here at Romulus High School, we're about giving this new program a 2021 update, looking to give it a totally new and fresh look. This CTE program gives 3 choices to the Romulus High graduate. They can attend a post-secondary institution, they can obtain cosmetological certification in any area of expertise, or that student has the option to go straight to work in a salon. The goal for our program is to realign their ability to be successful. We want to reshape the tools needed to do that. And we also overall want to reimagine what the future looks like as they soar like eagles from Romulus High CTE Cosmetology and Barbering Program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. No need to be nervous, though.
I am.
You did fine.
So Dr. Edmondson, the whole key here in Perkins 5 is the issue of credentialing. So we have to move all programs from the part of credentialing. That's our #1 priority. The second one is we have to move these programs, which has been a very long time, draining your general fund, to move them to the Perkins and the added cost fund so we can actually turn around and be competitive. And the third is to focus on the issue of compliance. There's a number of things, and you already know there's a list that's have to be compliant. If we don't, because I am bound, and every teacher is bound, we sign an insurance form every year. If there's any irregularities, we will have to basically submit that to MDE. I've been holding off for a year. I need to clean this up in order to move forward. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Harlan. Can you hear me? Yes, I know you can. Thank you, Dr. Harlan. I appreciate the brief update and staying within the time frame. Certainly appreciate that. I'm sorry, nobody heard me. I thank Dr. Harlan. I don't know if he heard that. I thank Dr. Harlan for his time. At this point, we have questions and answers later on. So I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Sam Michelli, who's the representing IDS, the architectural firm, who's going to give an update on the cost, the timelines, and pending projects. I've only given him 10 minutes. I apologize, but I assume that that's perfect timing for an architect.
Thanks, Dr. E, and good evening, board members. I believe Paula sent to you earlier today the breakdown that Barton Mallow Builders, who's our counterpart or construction manager, pulled together on their cosmetology and barbershop project, totaling roughly $247,000. So you've got that breakdown there that you can look at. I'm not sure if she shared with you a previous presentation of the renderings or any of that, but I'm happy to share that if anybody wants to look at it. But I've got Jared Marinelli from Barton Mallow Builders here with me as well. And one of the things that I think we wanted to bring up, and maybe we could save it for questions, is timeline of construction and related to when Dr. Harlan is looking to get inspections for the program, and then how does that interact with school being remote right now and dealing with COVID in the program. So one of the things that Dr. Harlan mentioned to us early on in the process was that he was looking to have inspection for February by the state of Michigan to get a licensed program. As we stand now, our drawings are complete, but we're at a point where if we started construction now, we won't finish until past that February deadline. So Jared, I don't know if you want to take a couple moments, just explain sort of where we're at and what we have sort of coming up with projects that we could take advantage of.
Yeah, so we've got a couple options where we stand right now. So I'm currently working on bid package 4, which is next summer's sinking fund work, which would be the secured entries at the elementary schools and the exterior signage. We have an opportunity, if we want to move forward with the barbershop, to combine the barbershop work with bid package number 4 to get better pricing. But that's something I'd like to have out in the next couple of weeks. Or I need to have bid pack 4 out in the next couple of weeks to have that to get pricing back in time for the January, I believe it's January 11th board meeting for approval. And that puts us a few weeks after that to do post bids and award recommendation, and then the submittal process. After the board meeting, you're looking at probably a month before we can start construction. Logistically, and then just for the barber shop, you're looking at 10 to 12 weeks of construction. So I mean, just doing the math, that puts you into April, May completing. So I guess with that logic, we certainly can start it if it is approved as soon as possible. But I mean, my thought is that it should, one way or another, get combined with bid pack 4, just for pricing purposes alone.
So, Dr. E, I'm not sure if you want us to comment on any of the other future projects coming down the line, or if there's anything in particular you want me to dive in on. I'm happy to sort of tailor that.
First to the board, I believe I just sent out, Sam had sent this to us before, all of us, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, and I just sent it again. I think it's 3 documents or 3 PDFs. I believe the renderings are in there, but I just sent it to your emails again. So you should have those. But yeah, Sam, because this is a CTE update, it's not just about the barbershop and the salon. So yeah, certainly we'd like to know of any pending projects, but I don't know, and I don't know who knows, but what have you been told in terms of pending projects, or what are you thinking of in terms of moving forward? What's out there in your mind? What's out there that we don't know, or that I don't know, or that the board, that we need to know?
Yes. So, more than CTE, what we had planned for sinking fund from a design standpoint on what we were going to start working on at the beginning of the year is going to be, so bid pack 4 that Jared alluded to was secured entries at the 3 sister elementary schools.
Oh, let me stop you. Yeah. Not that, I thought in terms of CTE, it's just no other projects, just the barber shop and the salon.
Right. And the only other thing that I think we've talked about, Dr. E, is possibly doing a look at the restaurant culinary program and analyzing what we can be doing for that. And that came up in our recent discussions in the last couple of weeks.
Analyzing the restaurant. What was the other?
The culinary, yeah, the restaurant. And I think it was the first time we had heard about it, and so we haven't looked at that yet. Okay. That's something we can plan to look at and maybe provide some early pricing on what overhauling that would cost. We could do that as part of the next few months.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the board finance committee. I believe that's Ms. Funderburk, Ms. Terrell, and Ms. Rudolph. At this point, I would probably have Ms. Rudolph as she's representing the district, and she knows more than arguably, well, not even arguably, knows more than the board members. So just the board finance committee update on some of the things that have been discussed, particularly even to the CTE project, if possible, but just where are we in terms of the board finance committee and some of the things that you've discussed as they relate to the CTE program?
Good evening. The finance committee met to look at this one particular project for CTE, to look at what the cost was, which Sam presented at around $227,000, but also to give them an opportunity to ask questions about the specific work that would be done in those rooms. Nicole was also on the call, and we talked about just some of the logistics of the classroom and bathrooms and entrances and exits and those types of things. But that was the extent that the finance committee looked at this CTE project and the sinking fund. We also wanted to make sure, and we did make sure, that this was something that could fit within the sinking fund, and it can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rudolph. Appreciate that. Ms. Crockett, the leadership, tell us what's going on there and staffing and your perspective, being that you're there every day.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to give a brief, for those who don't know, a brief history, if you will. I will be brief, of the CTE program as I came into it. So when I came in as an assistant principal, we found out that the last time we had a director or someone over the program was roughly 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And so with that, all of the updating, all of the regulating and things had fallen off. And I'm sure that that's what was in Dr. Harlan's report. And so last year or year before last, we started asking more questions because we could see that there was more to the program than just our regular classes. So we started asking questions, what are these programs supposed to be about? Is there any kind of, what are we looking for? What is the end game for these programs? So at that point, we found out about the difference between concentrators and completers. We had no knowledge of this. And so we took it to the next level because we found out that from year before last to last year, the 2019-2020 school year, we were moving from Perkins 4 funding to Perkins 5 funding, which brought with it different requirements for how the classes were going to be run. So we had to have 2-year courses. And so that means that everything had to change with respect to how our class schedules were going to run. So we asked for assistance from Wayne Risa, and we found out that there was much more that we did not know. And so at that point, we started asking for help, more support when it comes to the documentation. There's so much documentation. There's so much. There are so many regulations. This is a state controlled and federally funded program. And so we just needed support. And so then Dr. Harlan came in and started explaining what all of these things were. We began developing for our students the pathways. And so if I can get Mr. Cooper to share that slide. I'm making good time.
You're fine.
Okay, thank you. We developed the Pathways project, namely based on the CTE program, because we knew that these programs were good for our kids. So if you can present that, Dr. Cooper. Go all the way down to 15. Sorry, 14. Okay. So anyway, we developed our Pathways project. Can you put that on presentation mode? Oh, it's doing that. Sorry. Okay. I don't know what the.
I have my readers on. I'm good.
Okay, well, we'll just take it that way. So point is, we developed our Pathways project based on largely our CTE programs. So you see there where we have arts and communications, and also our CTE programs and our electives go together. And these programs represent what our students' purposes can be, what our students are going to go into. So you'll see there in the red, arts and communications, the RHS classes that we have, band, creative writing, choir, 21st century communication. So students who are going into those fields have those classes, many of which are CTE. If you look at the purple, you have to turn your head a little bit to, if you look at the purple area, those are our business management classes. So our purple kids are the kids who are taking I'm looking for the RHS classes. Besides our regular classes, our CTE classes are multimedia, marketing, web design, entrepreneurship, finance, business management. So all of these purpose-driven pathways for our students, many of them are built on our CTE program. So we know and we understand the importance of our students having hands-on experiences. Work-based learning is a part of CTE. Work-based learning is when students are actually going out into the field. They are interacting with people in the industry. This is extremely important. They're learning how to communicate. They're learning how to network. And so these are all skills. If you scroll down a little bit, Mr. Cooper, because a high school diploma is not enough. So we recognize the importance of CTE, but CTE requires a lot of attention. And that's why we are where we are right now. We need to, as Dr. E says, we need more direction on where it is that we need to focus and where we can focus so that we can push these programs forward. If you go down to the next slide, that's just a larger rendition of that. Okay, go to the next slide. I don't know why that thing is not presenting. Okay, you probably are going to have to just present that and just. Okay, so these are our current program. I see it's got that background little piece in it. These are our current CTE programs, the programs that we have right now: web development, multimedia arts, marketing, entrepreneurship, accounting, parenting and childhood development. Ms. Willerick is going to speak to us very briefly about the program that she is running now and what we want to turn it into. Family living, health occupations. We have students taking their CNA certification. We're building them up for that. Culinary arts and computer programming. So at this time, we're going to hear from Ms. Willerick, who is currently teaching the parenting and childhood development class.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's good to see some familiar faces. If we haven't met before, my name is Lisa Willerick, and I have been a teacher, a family consumer science teacher here at the high school for 16 years. I love family consumer science. It's something I'm deeply committed to. And we've had a very thriving family and consumer science program here at the high school so far. We have a lot of enrollment in my classes. Currently, I have 154 students enrolled in the 5 classes that I teach, which are parenting, child development, nutrition and foods, life management, and family living. And these students typically find themselves in many of the career pathways, but primarily in that yellow slice, that human services slice of the diagram that Ms. Crockett just shared out. We have a dynamic career and student organization, FCCLA, which I know that the Board of Education has always been so supportive of the leadership and community service efforts of my students. So I want to just thank you again for that. I know we haven't seen you guys in a while. But over the last year, we've seen some changes in family and consumer science. I am actually running the only CTE certified program for FCS in Wayne County. They are slowly dying out because we are actually a non-wage earning program, like Dr. Harlan had mentioned earlier. way back, if you knew way back in earlier Perkins legislation, parenting classes actually had dedicated funding, but that is no longer. And so what we're seeing is a lot of these FCS programs transitioning to a program called Education General. Education General is SIP code 1300. In the past, it was a combination of early childhood and teacher cadet programs. But what we're seeing now is a merging of the two in Education General. And what it is it's a program that's designed to give students information about careers in education, but also to give students field experiences. So within the Education General program, students will get field experiences. I'm excited about the launch of this program here at RHS, and I'm really excited about the partnership that Dr. Harlan has connected us with at EMU. One of the concerns in the state of Michigan when it comes to preparing future teachers is we don't have a lot of teachers that come from urban areas. We're really facing especially a teacher shortage for teachers of color. And by bringing this program to RHS, we can help to just really generate more interest of our students into the teaching professions. Again, this can include child development work, coaching, teaching anywhere from preschool through high school. And there are a variety of careers that students can engage in as a result of their experiences in this program, as well as different paths for post-secondary education. The last information I received from the state is that students leaving this program will be eligible for one of two industry certifications, either a child development associate certification or our Michigan School Age Development certification, a youth development certification, which will provide them with the opportunity to increase their earning potential upon leaving Romulus High School. And another thing I'm really looking forward to with the Education General program is the opportunity for our students to network and to connect with our elementary schools. So it'll really be a good bridge builder between our elementary school mentor teachers and mentor classrooms and our high school students. And I think that that will be a wonderful way to generate interest not only in the Education General program, but it will generate interest among our elementary school families and our middle school families about CTE programs in general. So I see that as a benefit. I'm looking forward to working with Dr. Harlan over the course of the next few months to learn about more specifics with the program and just really get this going. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for our students. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Willerick. Thank you so much. We also have Mrs. Swint, who's our department head on. She's going to speak briefly about the computer programming classes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Thalia Swint, and I have been teaching at Romulus High School for 23 years. I'm currently teaching the computer programming course. This is my first year teaching this course. And in the computer programming course, students will learn coding, which is a primary method of communicating with the computer. And through this course, it will make it possible for the students to create things such as computer software, websites, apps, and etc. And in this programming class, it is a 1.5-year program, and students will need to take 3 semesters of computer programming to complete the program. The articulation agreement will be determined at a later date. In regards to the job prospects for students, most computer programmers have a bachelor's degree. However, some employers hire workers with an associate's degree. When we look at the pay, the median pay, annual pay for computer programmers is $86,550 and that is as of May 2019. And when we look at the benefits of this course, it promotes logical thinking. This course teaches our students how to tackle complex problems by breaking them down into smaller problems, which are easier to manage and solve. And students will also, it helps them with their creativity. We could have the next inventor in our district. Also, with the computer programming, students develop persistence. They have to keep going until they solve the problem. And it also teaches our students resilience. And this is something that can't be taught. This is something that has to be developed by troubleshooting. And also it improves our students' communication skills and problem-solving skills. So in conclusion, I would like to express my appreciation to the board for supporting this computer programming class.
Thank you, Ms. Swint. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I do understand, as a former programmer myself, those critical thinking skills are extremely important. And coding is the foundation of engineering, and engineers are in high demand. So in closing, we are looking to rebuild our CTE programs. As Dr. Harlan has stated and has expressed, they have fallen off because of years that they have not been tended to. We'll just put it that way. And we want to have state-of-the-art programs. We want to have top-notch programs and fully funded programs. And we are going to need support again and direction and getting us there. And that is all.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. First, I think you articulated it wonderfully at the end, because that's exactly what I was going to say in terms of direction. But right now, we're going to transition to our question and answers, and a couple of things that I want to put out there so that we're all clear is, one, just going to reiterate, assume positive intent. And the reason that I say that, sometimes when I've been sitting in the superintendent's chair, it feels like an attack. And it shouldn't, but it just does. You take it personally, you take it professionally when people are coming at you, but we're going to assume positive intent. Why? Because I think we're all very vested in our CTE program. The question is, what direction are we going in? I'm certainly not looking at this and saying, oh, we need to take people's jobs. This is not an issue about jobs or job security. That's not on the table whatsoever. What we're talking about is our CTE program and where we're going, particularly in the next 3 to 5 years. And I know Dr. Harlan's charge this year is to support us with a vision. Next, with the question and answers, we're looking for clarifying questions. And I ask that you can demonstrate passion, but certainly no attacks. So we're going to do this in an orderly manner, and we're going to start with questions in which the speaker presented. So we'll certainly start with Dr. Harlan, then we'll go to Sam, questions for Sam, and then next for Ms. Angela Rudolph, and then Ms. Crockett, and certainly the board. To my own staff, I will say this, particularly the cabinet that's here. You know me, you know my personality. There's no question that you can't ever ask me, okay? I report to the board, I tell you that all the time. They're not your bosses, they're my boss. So you have the right to ask any questions because technically I'm your boss. So if you have questions for anybody, just do them respectfully. My first time here, assuming this position, I was embarrassed by the unprofessionalism that was afforded to Dr. Harlan, frankly, from our staff. That was uncalled for, and we're certainly not going to ever have that as long as I'm sitting in this chair. So we'll start with Dr. Harlan, questions that may be posed for Dr. Harlan, and then we'll move into Sam, and then we'll go into the finance and so on. Dr. Sophia, are you around?
I'm here.
Okay. So, I kind of like you, if you can introduce yourself first, and then I'll let you do this portion if you don't mind.
Sure. Absolutely. So hi, everybody. I am Dr. Sophia Lafayette Laws. I'm the newest newbie to the team. I'm really excited to join the Romulus community schools, and excited to work with all of you. So great presentations this evening. I really appreciate all the efforts everybody has gone to share this information with us and help us as we start to think about CTE. For my own understanding, I'm going to go ahead and ask a question if that's okay. To Dr. Harlan, you presented some really great information, and I was just, especially with my being new to the district and wanting to understand more, you talked about the barbershop and salon program, and I was curious how that program ended up being a focus area for us in terms of, you know, why are we thinking about the barbershop and salon? I understand the reasoning behind, like I understand the career aspect of it, but really understanding why that one particular in terms of funding efforts versus maybe some other types of CTE programs as well. I guess what I really want to know is what else have we considered and looked at when you think about the 16 core areas for CTE. There's a lot going on with STEM right now. So just really wanting to understand a little bit more about how we landed with barbershop and salon and our rationale for that one.
Okay, to answer the first question is that, as I put in my report before, was the issue that come out of the monitoring, Perkins monitoring. And it was like, we did not have our programs besides, I think, matter of fact, I got to correct myself, was Willerick and Judy Solano classes were the only one that had any type of certification. No one else had any certification. That is a big no-no. We got a red flag on that. So I said, well, since now what we have to do is we have to, because there's so many layers within those programs that has to be corrected, was that the barber and cosmetology and natural hair, no one in the state has that type of program. No one. So we will be the first. I cleared it all the way up to MDE, and it has licensures within the program. So for example, cosmetology, the first year students would do the natural hair, then they would take the state board. So that gives us evidence that this program is positive. Those students then continue to get the cosmetology. Barbering, the only school in the state was Ben Harbor. They were the only one in the state. So this was different. This was the 21st century. And within this, Ms. Nolan and I, and also to that advisory board, good award-winning advisory board, we're talking about the 21st century that we had I think, if I'm correct, Ms. Nolan, that was grades 3 through 8. And I talked with, the principal about that, and they are very excited. So that's why that had to come. The STEM piece was on years down the road, because one of the things that happened was that in the teachers ed program, we're partnering not only with EMU, but Davenport is going to partner with us, and they already have the STEM grant. So that piece is going to tie to that. The problem is this here, as you know, some of the math and science teachers are already in the general fund. If we move over to CTE, that's a planning. We can't do it. It's a lot of paperwork in the back, on the back end of it. So I have to find some other way. Can we build the courses within that? And then there will be a STEM program. Well, I guess they'll share the report with you. What we found out was that students that were enrolled in CTE, they will actually take the CTE course as an elective. So that would satisfy their math or something else. So it destroyed the numbers in CTE. So that's why you had 154 students that were non-completers. And as you look at the state system, they're gonna say, hey, what's going on here? In a previous meeting, I also to show that there were students who was actually in 2 or 3 different programs. So the system picks it up. So in order to move forward, these were 2 great ones that we can get quick certifications so we can show the state that it's positive. The current programs, we have to actually correct what we call the curriculum delivery piece. For example, I got Chef Parks here, amazing award-winning chef. But in his program, it's only hospitality 1 and hospitality 2. And as a superintendent, Dr. Evans and I, we looked at it, was like, well, that's only 2 preps. But you paying for whatever. So we're adding bakery 1 and bakery 2. So that's 2 types of certifications. But we have to correct the paperwork that was submitted to the state and change those internal things. Another program, as Ms. Crockett talked about, was Health OC. Health OC originally was a CNA. One of the things in coming back and look at it, it was the health careers was one part, and then we would send the students over to W3CD and they will get the CNA training, but no one took the exam. So that counts as 0.
Right.
So the common point was and that was $30,000 a year that they had been paying W3CD. So that's why we said if we had a registered nurse that can teach both components, then we save that money.
Thank you, Mr. Harlan. So I appreciate that clarifying information. Do we have anybody else additionally, board members or any other staff that would like to ask Mr. Harlan any questions? Dr. Harlan. Any questions for Mrs. Nolan, who is currently teaching the barbershop and salon program?
I'm sorry, this is Mrs. Beard. I just have a couple questions and I'm not sure who can answer them for me, preferably Dr. Harlan. I just kind of wanted to know, you had mentioned in the report, and then I know that we've got this barbershop program going on, and we mentioned the computer programming, and I've heard about the culinary arts and the bakery program, but you also mentioned in the report that we had a lot of violations. Have those been addressed and corrected, or are those being addressed and corrected as we add the new programs?
I am still submitting requests for these things to be addressed. As I said before, I have assurance that I have to abide by, or I have to report them. I'm still getting daily reports on them. Some things are moving, but a lot of them are still sitting out there, and they need to be addressed real quick, especially the equipment. There's a lot of equipment that have not been inventoried, and that's a violation of not only Romulus board, it's a violation of the state and the federal. And the audit is going to come this year. Matter of fact, just to give you just a clear one, we had a $3,000 LG refrigerator that just disappeared. And like, somebody got to find this thing here. So I've sent the grid sheet out. They have to get all this equipment, and it goes all the way back, every program, because that's required for each teacher record.
Question.
Yes.
The refrigerator you mentioned, which program was that purchased for, and for a specific purpose, I'm assuming, and what do you mean by disappeared?
Well, I have sent I've sent my letter to superintendent and also to the building administrators. This came up, it was purchased in 2018. It was actually 2 freezers and 1 refrigerator. We went in, we found 1 refrigerator. We found another freezer that was still in the box. We talking about 2018. And no one knows where this LG refrigerator is, stainless steel.
Disappeared.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. When we're ordering equipment for our CTE programs, real quickly, like, what is the process? Who recognizes the need? How is it submitted? How is it approved? And then where is the follow-through with the inventory and making sure that it's utilized for the purpose stated?
Yes, you brought up a very good point, because that's one of the things I put in the report about the purchases of this equipment. The reason why I'm bringing that up, because we have another issue. We had some, and I didn't do it, it was in the Perkins. We got 9 computers just in last spring, and they're sitting in a closed closet, brand new systems. So now I am going back and I'm start finding out there's more computers than there are students, but where are they? So it has to be a very, very systematic thing, because when the auditor comes, it better be where it's supposed to be. That's alarming, because that you will have to pay that money back.
This is Ms. Kennard. I have a question for Dr. Harlan. When you said you had a timeline in addressing these concerns, what is this timeline, or I mean, where are we with that? I mean, is it something that's relatively that's upcoming, or where are we with that if we have not addressed any of these?
Yes, when I brought my report, and I actually gave you copies of just some of the things that were purchased in the last couple of years. Why they order it, I have no idea. It has the teacher's name who actually ordered it. It has the administrator's name who signed off on it. Now, what it becomes is the issue of this here. The administrator and the teacher is responsible. The auditor, which they go throughout the whole state, those are Fed auditors. They just show up. And when they show up, everything must be in place, or you'll get hit with a fine. A small school district just got hit with $800,000 they got to pay back because of things like this.
So actually what you're saying is like ASAP.
Yes.
Okay, I have another question for you. I noticed in the presentation that Mr. Crockett presented to us, and thank you very much for that, Ms. Crockett. It was very informative. Either one of you can answer this. It's pertaining to the CTE electives and the CTE and electives. She made a statement. She said that they both go together. I think that was just for the diagram, but I just want some clarification in terms of the actual CTE and electives pertaining to students when they are scheduling their students. Are you saying that our students are being put in CTE classes as part of their electives for their courses, or it was just for that diagram? And if it's that way, is that something that we need to be adhering to? Because that didn't sound right to me. I think I know a little bit about CTE, where CTE is CTE, elective courses electives, and the differences between your instructional staff, CET certified versus the non-instructional. Either one of you can answer that.
Ms. Crockett?
I would love to answer that. So to your question, Ms. Kennard, hi, thank you. We found out that they were being integrated. So we were having students taking CTE courses as if they were electives, because again, no one was monitoring the programs. That's just what it turned into. And so what we began to find out is that that is actually not acceptable. This is not what we want. We want students to come into programs, to stay in programs, to remain focused, and to become completers. So that's just one of the things that we are repairing with these programs, is making sure that our students are understanding that they need to concentrate and then complete the programs and not just take them for fun.
Okay, right. And my next, thank you very much. Dr. Harlan, you want
I
to
want to add to that, is that also too, is what we start to find out, and this is things I said should be shared every year to see where your programs are. For example, we had a program that had 100 and some students, but you only had 2 completers the whole year. That, not only that's embarrassing, you done lost a whole lot of money, but I question, now I can go into each student and see how many segments they have taken, and some of them only took half the segments, which you have 12 segments in order to become a completer. So if they took 6 segments, it doesn't do Romulus any good at all.
And then my next question is pertaining to how we're tracking our students. You mentioned that we have students that were in several programs. What are we doing, or what have we done, or what's on the plate to correct that? You have people going, counted in more than one program. I mean, what are we doing there?
I think one of the things that I had brought to the teachers and administration is, if we can allow the teachers to advise their own students, then at least the teacher knows exactly. If I have 17 in say culinary 1 and culinary 2, I should have 17. That can control that measure. The second thing is what we were talking about, and I brought up to them and made a recommendation, because all I can do is make recommendations. Is that even at my years of being at post-secondary for 25 years, I said, why don't we just create a year-long schedule, and that's how you follow it? Because what was happening in the past is they said that they had the same classes every semester. So you have to have a year-long schedule that says what classes will be giving and at what time.
And if I can interject even with that, just so that there's an understanding. So now we are working in conjunction with the counseling team to schedule as such. But what you need to know is that the counselors who are here now have only been here for a short period of time. There was no passing down of the information or the understanding of how these programs were supposed to be run and scheduled. So this is new for everyone. So repairing.
This is Mrs. Beard again. I have a question. So in listening to what everybody's been saying, am I hearing a expression of a need for a CTE director? Is there a CTE committee that this person would work with the staff at the high school and with our counselors and provide us guidance? I understand Dr. Harlan is our consultant, and he could probably assist that director. Is that what I'm hearing, or am I?
Yes. Yes.
I would interject into that one there that says no, it would not be better. What has happened is a part of my recommendation, if you look at the bad past, is what drives. You have advisory boards for each program. But I said one of the recommendations, you need to have an overall board for the district with communities, political people, industry people, and that will drive your program. So that's why I said you need to have this. But at the end of the day, the building administrator is the #1 person is responsible for those programs. So at the end of the day, even right now, I do the student enrollment, which I'm not supposed to do, but I certify the student. But it's still the building administrator. When you go in the system, they ask for the building administrator. So I would say, just my recommendation, the teachers in the program have survived so far, and then there's been some transition throughout the years. But when you talk about moving forward, you got to have an overall board, advisory board, to drive your program, to drive your CTE program. That's just my recommendation.
I'm raising my hand. May I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So from the administrator perspective, especially, so one of the things that we're learning, and the reason why I'm saying yes, is because I understand now clearly why there was someone in the building all those years running these programs. And so Dr. Harlan is doing what he can as a consultant, and he has opened our eyes to many, many things when it comes to supporting the teachers in their programs. So let me go back to what we're understanding. What we're understanding now is that as you have, which we have a vacancy right now in health occupations, and we have a brand new instructor in culinary arts, they don't have a co-teacher to support them. So when we get a new math teacher and they're teaching algebra, there are 2 other teachers teaching algebra that they can collaborate with. And so they have some support. So it's not all on the department head or on the administrator to take care of that person to bring them into where they need to be. When you have CTE programs, each one is a singleton. Each one has its own segments. Each one has its own isms. Each one has its own needs, and it's just for that program. We need someone in the building who can touch these programs and who can support and lifting them up. We are looking at some equipment. While things have been ordered, for example, in the culinary room, that culinary room needs to be overhauled, that restaurant. And so we need someone in the building. Dr. Harlan is the top level, if you will, but we need some support in the building to on an almost daily basis provide that support for making sure that these things get to where they need to get to.
I have something to add to this. This is Bill Garland.
Hi, Bill Garland.
And I know how bad Dr. Edmondson hates when I bring up the past. But when we had a strong CTE director, I'll use the example of Bill Musham. We had an extremely successful auto lab, extremely successful small engine repair. Our welding department was known all over the world. We had a building trades class that built houses in Romulus, 8 houses, matter of fact. We had a salon that eventually closed down. And we had the business professionals who they went all over and did things. So I agree with Ms. Crockett on this. And I think strong leadership is always a necessity for programs that are standalone, although this is part of the high school. So I'm just throwing that out as something for the board to consider and to think about. And just since I do have a moment here, I'd like to understand moving forward with the barbershop, how this translates to success for our students. I want to get a firm grasp on this just for me, and how this we stand to lose or gain funding for the school district, because that's a part of it, because I'm in the building part of it, in the maintenance part, that I don't really understand, because IDS and Barton Mallow are nervous about getting this up and running so we don't lose funding. So I want to understand that. I want to understand what's reimbursable, how much of the equipment's paid for, and all those things, and really how we end up with kids who have accreditation and can go on and make money and be successful. So, I mean, if somebody can help me with those things just for my own knowledge.
Okay, is that the pose for me there? Okay, I'll take it.
Anybody, just anyone.
Well, Ms. Rudolph can explain more to you about in the reimbursement, because we have Perkins, we have 61A, we have all those things that what we call reimbursement. What people fail to realize, and that first thing I heard was that, oh, it's 100% CTE. No, it's not. It is a 90-10 formula. So which means in the sense we have to spend a lot of money in order to get a little bit of money. What is happening if you look at your financials, you are receiving things like $83,000, $93,000 just from Perkins. And I put in my report, hey, there are certain positions we have to have. Matter of fact, I put in the work-based learning coordinator this year, and we have to have that. I also to put in for someone to do articulation and agreements. So as we look down the road, and we are actually adding, changing the two things, because family consumer is coming out. That was draining almost $100,000 a year. Times that by 10 years or 5 years. So when we say $200 and some $1,000, we're gaining because we cut out W3CD, we cut out MEI, and now we're going to have a teacher ed program that's going to be bringing in money. The biggest problem is not about the CTE director, and I want to explain this to you. The biggest work is behind the scenes. Behind the scene, when you have to deal with CETAs, when you have to deal with all those other systems. So what we're trying to do is move, basically get those programs out of our general fund pocket and start being reimbursable programs and make them more productive. Ms. Rudolph, you the finance person, so you know a little bit more than I have on that.
Okay, I think you covered it in terms of reimbursement, in terms of added cost dollars, and in terms of Perkins dollars. There are some programs that we do well on. Our certified nursing program, we get a good amount of money from added costs. But added cost is just that. The basic class and the teacher, those are district responsibilities. Added cost pays for the additional that it takes to run those programs. So what we've had over time is we've had programs that we fully invested in that we didn't get added cost. So those added costs were our cost and we paid for those. I think in addition, when you look at culinary arts, as well as this new cosmetology barber program, you have two programs that you can generate revenue off of to support your general fund and take the cost off. Your restaurant could cater. You have a district full of adults and no place to eat in Romulus. You have community members. Your restaurant could cater and defray those costs. Your beauty and barber program could serve the public to defray those costs.
Thank you, Ms. Rudolph. So I'm going to go now, if you don't mind. This is specifically to the Board of Education, people that employ me. I had a problem statement here. I said, Dr. Harlan is working on our compliance issues and creating programs to do so. And that's one of the reasons that he was hired to do that. The feeling on the other end is that we have no input into the matter while recommendations are being made. He's an expert at what he does. He's making recommendations, but on RCS side, there's no input. So I get that he's trying to fix it. We have some serious compliance issues. So maybe the barbershop takes care of that. Okay, that might be one night. Hey, or changing out of family consumers and going into a teacher cadet program solves some of those compliant issues. But on the flip side, it's, well, we didn't have any buy-in. How's that going to work? What do the kids think? So this is to the board. That's one of the things that is definitely at play here. But I wanted to put a little an illusion here with an A. It's, to me, it feels like I bought a beautiful house in a bad neighborhood. I made purchases without knowing what rooms I have. So I made purchases in my new house. I don't know what my rooms look like, but I'm going to get this couch, and the couch may not even fit into the doggone room. But that's what I did. This is kind of how this feels to me, because I think there's some pieces that are missing that we've got to consider as a board, and that you maybe entrust me to do. I don't know. You got to have student interest. If there's no student interest, we can forget all this. We can do all these meetings all you want. The kids aren't interested. They're not coming. Don't talk to me about reimbursements. Don't talk to me about compliance. None of that. If kids aren't interested, you know what happens. We'll walk by the barbershop. We'll walk by the restaurant. We'll walk by whatever we have decided, and it's going to be empty. And that will be your legacy and mine, frankly. Okay. Staff buy-in. When we don't have staff buy-in, I mean, it's not going to work. What you get is sabotage. And to some degree, that might be going on. I would tend to say it is. That there is, when you don't have staff buy-in, they feel some kind of way, they're going to sabotage whatever you're doing. Okay. I'm not going to blame the staff, but that's usually what happens when you don't have staff buy-in. They've got to sit at the table and they've got to be participants here. Okay. So that's going on. I wrote up a couple of other things here. I said, my suggestion to the board is that we collaborate on a CTE strategic plan. You have to have a strategic plan. You have to bring Dr. Harlan to the table. You have to bring the staff to the table. You have to bring the board to the table. You have to bring the cabinet to the table, and you bring the principals. Those of us that are truly going to be impacted. You also bring the community, and heck, throw in a couple of students, student leaders. Now we have a group of people that are vested, and we can collaborate on a CTE strategic plan that goes from 2021 to maybe 2024. Now, Dr. Harlan's responsibility is to come up with a vision, but we've just thrown that on him to create. I wouldn't even want to be associated with having that weight on my shoulders to create a vision for you when Those other things, student interest, staff buy-in, that's not a part, but yet you expect me to come up with this vision or this strategic plan. Probably not going to work. Another thing I wrote is, I wouldn't make any financial investment until we had the strategic plan. There's no way that I would invest any kind of money in any kind of program with no plan. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. Why would I buy a house in a community and I haven't invested in it? I don't know what that community is, but I'm gonna buy the house. It makes no sense to me that the response is that you hold off. Now, if Dr. Harlan can make certain that we have addressed our compliance issues, yes, we just continue to move forward with the teaching that's going on, not the rooms and all. That's a substantial investment. $260,000 is a substantial one without a plan. So I would hold off on that part, but assure, because I was talking to Dr. Harlan, he came into my office, and he and I we're kind of cool to one another. I'll say that quite frankly. We can speak so openly and honestly. And he shares things with me that I don't know. And I tell him, you know, Doc, I don't have the expertise. I don't. I expect him to have that expertise, but I do bring an expertise to the table. I just got to get to that table. Bring me to the table, bring my staff to the table. I'm going to bring some expertise to work and collaborate with Dr. Harlan. Next one, enrollment increases and certification. If we're going to put in a CTE program, I need to know. I'm going to place myself as a taxpayer now. Why would I invest if it's not going to increase enrollment? Okay. Have you done the research to know that there are certain programs that will get kids excited? I'm curious about kids that would come from outside communities that would come to Romulus. I'm not convinced, frankly, that they would come for cosmetology, but maybe they would. Based on what I heard from oh geez, let me scroll down. This starts with an O. Okay, there it is.
Ms. Nolan.
Okay, she shared some things that get me excited that yes, that potentially could happen. But we need a vision that's going to get people excited. I want to separate Romulus from the next school district. I want people to say, you know what? I had considered going to Metro Charter or Summit, but you know, Romulus has a strong CTE program where they have esports, where they have coding, where they have computer programming, things that I know will not only gain interest, but they'll also impact the demographic too. Okay, not that I'm trying to do that, but it will definitely have a definite impact on the demographic on multiple ways. Dr. Harlan told me something I didn't know, that a good number of special ed students are in CTE. Well, we need to address that. Why is that? He told me that I was blown over. Okay. We need to address that. Okay. Why is that? And is there too many? Is there a number that's too many? He was talking to me and his expertise about that. He said, Doc, did you know it? I didn't know. So now I know. I'm like, okay, well, there must be something to it. I go back to Miss Crockett. We must have someone from RCS as the authority. That person you cannot have an outsider, no disrespect to Dr. Harlan, be the authority on this project, okay? Because we're gonna have a big problem. And we already have a problem. Dr. Harlan meets resistance. Why? Because he's an outsider. It's not even his fault, but he's seen as an outsider, and then he gets resistance when he tries to come in, and then he feels some kind of way about the resistance and gives it back to the staff, right back to him, socks it right to him. So we have that going on. There is a dynamic that's going on in the school that you have two forces doing like this and we're not moving anywhere. Big forces. And then someone must provide support, just like Ms. Crockett said. We have watched us, Dr. Harlan has put qualified people in positions who are left to dry out. Okay, they're left to dry out. Then we expect Ms. Crockett to be able to come to the rescue. Not going to work. It's not going to work. We have to have an RCS authority figure that is there, who is responsible to work with Dr. Harlan, and that Dr. Harlan actually has to report to that person. Technically, I don't think he should be reporting to me or the board. It needs to be the principal there so I can hold the principal accountable. Okay, those two, I can hold them accountable. I can't do it. If it's me, I have too many other things to do, and I report to the board. I think we need to review that and what that looks like. So I guess the bottom line for me is that, listen, I think we're building the ship without a plan. That's how I look at this. We're building a ship without a plan. I'm in the community. Anybody asks me a question, I don't know. And you know me well enough to know that that might actually come out my mouth. I don't know. Okay, please empower me to be able to know. I want us to be able to work and collaborate on a CTE strategic plan. It only makes sense. Where are we going year 2? Where are we going year 3? We had a survey that students, 519, I believe, students participated. Okay, did we take what they said seriously? And my answer is that's not rhetorical. I answer it for you. No, we didn't. Why give somebody a survey if you're going to turn around, particularly as adults, that we turn around and we do the opposite to kids? And it continues to happen in education. They tell you what they need and what they want, but we still want to be in 1995 because it felt good when we were there. Okay, the world has changed, folks. If we're not doing anything in terms of technology, we have hurt our community and we have hurt our kids. And you need to ask yourself why you're sitting in the chair that you're sitting in. Okay, I'm here for kids, and I know that my kids, what my own children are interested in, blows my mind. I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, but I can tell you what they're not talking about. They're not talking about being an educator when they see their dad do it for 25 years, 17 and 13 respectively, at the highest level. No interest in education. Let's start looking at the programs that we're going to invest or in which we're thinking about investing, and let's see what the interest is. Let's go to the community college and see what are the top 15 cutting edge jobs that are coming. And why don't we be the school district to say, we're going to put 4 of those in our school district. We're going to get 4 employees, 4 people in the public sector to run those programs. But instead, we're doing things that, come on now. I mean, realistically, we have to do better as adults. And, you know, most of us are being paid. Okay, some of us are getting beaten up and they're not being paid. No disrespect to the board, but that's what your job is. Sometimes you get beat up. Okay, but we can have a plan. Cooper had shown me, I did not know that students took a survey. Then I saw 519 kids. It totally changed what I thought. It changed my direction. Then I said, how can we not utilize that to make our decisions? Okay, and maybe we need to do it again. Look, there was a lot of chaos going on in the district. Absolutely. Well, now I would say there's less chaos. I'm not going to say there's no chaos, but I'd say there's less chaos. And maybe we could do the same survey with some different careers and the ones that we're looking at too. Put it out there. Okay. And in terms of loss, listen, I enjoy Dr. Harlan. This isn't even personal, or to the board that voted for it. It's not personal. But frankly, my cabinet said to me, and I praised them for this, would you rather lose $30,000 or $50,000 in furniture that we could resell, or $270,000 and nobody shows up to the program? Boom. And I thanked them. I said, that's the kind of leadership that I want. I don't need anybody that's going to be a yes man. You're irrelevant to me. I need people to help us think this one through and truly decide what we're going to do. Okay. My job is hanging on this. And I'll be frank with you. I feel like if this fails, I'm out. You won't even have to buy me out. I will grab my luggage and I'll be shoved out of the district because a poor plan. And people look to the superintendent for the plan. So I'm asking you as a board to slow this thing down. Okay, let's do it right. The same thing I say to my kids, do it right the first time and you never have to do it again because you did it right the first time. What's the rush? Doc is working with us, Dr. Harlan, that is. We got a lot of doctors here, soon to be as well, too. You have Dr. Harlan here who's working on our compliance. Why don't we let him get us in order? Let's get the compliance issue first before we decide to go out and make a major investment. Let him get us with our compliance issues and say, that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to take care of our compliance. Let's hold off on here until Dr. Harlan and I and the cabinet work on getting a strategic plan, how we could do that, bringing the board on board. That sounds good. Getting the board involved, getting some kids involved. We can't do this without having some students' voice at the table. Okay, we need our CTE staff at the table. Some of them have been here for 25 years, and for us not to do that, biggest slap in the face that we could do to our own staff. So that's it for me. I just wanted to throw those things out. I think I covered everything on my list here. But listen, it's not personal. I love the district already. I love this district, and I want to see us move forward in a strategic, clear definitions, clear being accountable and a plan that everybody can articulate with, said year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. That absolutely impacts SAM or IDS, and it impacts Barton Mallow. But I feel for them because every time I meet with them, they're like, what's changed this week? It's a clown show. Sorry, it's recorded. It is. I'm finished. Anybody else, Dr. Laws, I'm going to turn it over to you. I thank you all for listening to me. And again, I get my direction from the board, and I will follow wherever you think we should go. But I spoke my piece.
If I may,
This is Ms. Kamara.
if I
May
may
I
briefly.
speak, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right, thank you very much. My question is to Dr. Harlan, and thank you, Dr. Edmondson, for your thoughts pertaining to this. Is Dr. Harlan still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, my question is, if what we're talking about pertaining to the barbershop and any other CTE programs where we have funding that's already been put into the program and we put on hold where we're just looking at compliance issues, what does that do? What does that in terms of state auditing, reimbursement? What happens if we were to put hold on the project that we have already submitted documentation to the state and having us to meet those deadlines and what have you not? What happens to, can you give us some preliminary or something pertaining to what happens to us having to be in compliance to not going through with the project and so forth?
Well, what happens when it comes to programming, and I think that's what happens when a lot of people do not understand in CTE programming. The window only opens for so long. I give you an example, and I told Dr. Edmondson, so last year I had a consultant and had everybody come over, and we supposed to have a TV and radio program. Bill Gardner was there, and also to some other people. What happened was because the individual waited, the door closed, and they only had one slot in the region, and they went to Harper Woods. So what you have to understand is that we went forward and the board approved this, and the door closed because we didn't have the room. So it's a timing thing. It doesn't matter what a student feels as this is what I want to have. When that door opens for new application, new programs, and when it closes, you have to wait the next year. What guides that is every year we get a ranking. Now, I kind of disagree because that's part of when you read the report. We did have meetings. We had, Ms. Crockett was there, we had teachers, we had City Hall, we had community people, we had everybody there because one of the requirements is you got to have 2 committee meetings. And we did this before it even went to the board. And so that's what's happened. And the teachers, right now, I've been sitting here waiting for the approval for the teacher because the window opened November 1st. We're now 17 days late. And we have to put this in, but there's 2-3 other steps. I gotta have 2 advisory boards and they have to approve, and then it goes back to the board. Because the only thing we really need in the teacher cadet program, I think Ms. Willerick, I recommended her. She's a fabulous teacher that we just only have to do desk. So we already talked to Eastern, we already talked to Davenport, so they're gonna give us a lot of the materials that we need. Though I think it was the elementary school was where they're gonna do their teaching. We've already covered that. You already have all the documents. But what it takes, and I want you to understand the commitment, it takes 60 hours or 60 pages that you have to complete in order to submit the paperwork. When we take out a program, it takes about 40 hours. That's why the other programs I said that we're gonna take out, I had to take 40 hours on each one of those programs and find the equipment. So that's what you actually have on the table and what's at stake. Because they can come back and say they're not gonna allow you to have a program in the region.
And I guess what my question, you answered, but let me kind of tailor it a little bit more. If we do not do this, what are the repercussions financially to the district? I mean, are we going to get fined? Are we going to get, what is going to happen if we do not go through this?
If you don't do that, because it's already been almost a year, and I can't understand why it never did move forward. But the question is, you would lose a lot and you would never get it back.
I'm sorry.
I guess I want to know what's a lot. What's a lot?
I was
It's
thinking,
not, my
Lose a
question is,
lot. How? I hear us losing a lot if we spend $262,000 without, making an informed
plan.
decision. Yeah, but how would we lose money if we stalled this until we have an informed decision?
But Mr. Board President, when we first brought this program and we went through it, I mean, you was on board with it, but I'm gonna explain something to you. Last year, just last year, we had 415 students in CTE. We only had 63 that were completers. The only money we got, and I think Ms. Rudolph could back this up, we only received $86,000. That's all you receive. So actually, you spend so much money out of your general fund paying for these programs, and the only thing you got was $86,000.
Ms. Rudolph, can you tell us how much money we lost, dollars approximately, last year?
I'm sorry. How much money we lost?
Yes. If at all.
I'm not sure exactly what that question is.
So if I may, I heard in the explanations of everything that's going, has gone forth so much, that close to $300,000 has been utilized out of the general fund as a result of not going forward with this. I think that's, I'm thinking this is where we're going. Money has been spent out of our general fund that did not have to be spent out of our general fund. And one of the figures I have written down here equivalates to $300,000. If we were to move forward, we would not be pulling that money from the general fund. And I might be wrong, but this is what I've gained through listening to some of the presentations.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell.
So in addition, when you look at programs that we're running and we're spending outside of the teacher and the basic supplies for that class, if we're spending additional money out of general fund because we're not getting reimbursement through added cost dollars, we're not getting any Perkins money, that means like all classes are not created equal. It's not that expensive maybe to run an English class as it is to run a culinary arts class. So you are expending money out of general fund that you're not being reimbursed from the state because of our numbers, because we have programs that offer no certification, so the state doesn't give you any money for it, or because we have kids in those classes, but they never complete the program. So then again, we don't get any money for it. So in terms of that, yes, we lose money every year running those programs. So it's kind of like you could have had any class that you wanted to because the state is not supporting you to the extent that they could if we were running it right and if we were running programs that qualify for reimbursement. So the longer you do that, yes, you are just draining the general fund. But then with the new requirements, the state is just not going to, like, you can call it a CTE class if you want to, but they're just not going to recognize it. That's really cute that you all want to run that, but we don't recognize that anymore because there's no certification there. So no, we're not giving you anything.
Hi, this is Mrs. Evans. I don't know if I can ask a question at this point or if I have to wait for open comments from the public.
Ms. Evans, you're going to have to wait, and I don't mean to be rude. You're going to have to wait to the end of the
That's
meeting.
fine. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I would just like to to say briefly that I concur with the recommendation of our superintendent. I mean, you know, we hired him for a reason, to make recommendations. If we're not going to listen to his recommendations, I think we're foolish. You know, Mr. Garland's been here a long time. I concur with the CTE director, and I concur with the strategy as far as waiting, you know, for till we have a plan, comprehensive plan, before we go ahead and make any additional purchases or you know, movement. I think it'd be foolish otherwise. And the one thing I think we're failing to even consider is, you know, the current nature of the current season. We're in COVID season. We don't even have kids in the building, and so that's something else. I at this point, I'm not prepared to move forward with anything except for those things: CTE director and a comprehensive plan with a strategy. The last thing is, I mean, even as a board member, I couldn't even tell you what are our current offerings and what are the ones we're considering. I mean, I think we need to really lay this thing out and slow it down and see what we're doing. That's it.
So this is Dr. Well, I never call myself doctor. This is Ben Edmonton. So when I was superintendent in Ypsilanti, I was wondering why we no longer participated in the CTE program. And there was a CTE program run out of the WISD. WISD stopped running it, and they said, bottom line, kids take the classes and they get the skill. They get the skill. And then they don't get the certification because they have the skill. And that's all they cared about, was getting the skill, because now I can do it in my basement. Now I can do it when I'm in college campuses. I can do whatever because I have the skill. I don't need the certification because I can get my hustle on. I just do my hustle and I get it done. And that was the attitude. And that truly changed my thinking, because I thought it was going to be a great work. I thought it makes all the sense in the world until that was explained to me, that that's what kids do. And I said, you know what? That makes all the sense in the world, that they skirt out the certification part. But on the flip side, Dr. Harlan and I talked about, that's why if we were going to do this, it needs to be done in the 10th grade, so that by the 12th grade, we assure that they get this certification before they leave. Because if they don't get certified, we get nothing. So the bottom line is that you have to get certified. So when Dr. Harlan and I did talk about that, we said, let's move it down to the 10th grade so that they have 2 years to complete everything. And when they graduate, they also get their certification. But I go back to, I'm feeling a lot of weight on me, but that's part of the job. I just feel that we need to have a strategic plan. Let's get it. Let's do it. Let's get the right people at the table. Let's move ahead so that we all know what we're doing and that we're excited about it. Again, I take my, you all know, I'll say it again, I take my orders from the Board of Education, but I give my expertise, and I will certainly give my recommendations on where I think we're going. I've had, for the most part, in our cabinet meetings, we've talked about this. Okay, some of us have the same concerns. We know that. Okay, but I'm not holding up the project. I'm just asking us to take a look. And, you know, I don't want to lose money, but again, I'd rather lose 50,000 than I would 270,000, being a man that understands numbers.
If I may, please.
Yes, who's that?
This is Ms. Real. I just had a couple questions. First of all, is it possible, since we've already entered into this question, we've already voted on this particular the CTE program, and we've had some wonderful presentations. I generally, as you have stated, Dr. E, is it would have been nice had we had a step-by-step plan, but we're already into it. And I think you're absolutely right. There can be more support added. My thought is, and if we're going to have a CTE program, is it at all possible that we could have both moving parts, moving forward with what's already been laid, the foundation that has already been laid, moving forward in developing this advisory committee, moving forward with the support that the administrators and the teachers need, but also completing what we've already started and which we've already voted on, completing that with the intent that, because from my understanding, from what's been presented, is with the computer programming that Ms. Swint talked about, and how that extends out to STEM, and how STEM is a part of our current technology program, with developing the Eagle's Nest, so that we're able to do the catering, but doing all of these things, or even maybe setting up subcommittees where we're actually, this is what we do have. We currently do have a kitchen. We currently do have supplies that have been ordered. We currently do have the structure and the architect plans for the cosmetology program. Since we already have that, why don't we build around it so that we can, because the back end again is that we would then be able to translate what is normally spent out of our general fund to revenue that will replace that. So so with Dr. Harlan stating that there's a window, we have these things in place already. There's a window. Let's establish the committees that would be needed, the subcommittees that would be needed, identify a director over the program so that the teachers have that program and continue to move forward. I am someone who believes at this point, because there is a window, and we're not just talking about losing $30,000. The time that's already gone into it, we're not talking about that. What we should be looking at, and looking at the 200, I've heard anywhere from 220 all the way up to $260,000. We're looking at building an overall program that would be allow our students to have, and for me, that's what this is about. It is about the kids. It is about what we're offering our students, what we're offering our community. What is it that we have available to offer our community? We are in a COVID, but when we come out of this, because we are going to come out of it, we should be able to move forward if we start planning now. And I don't think putting the brakes on it, because that would wipe out what we're talking about as far as the Teachers Cadet program and the nuances that's involved in that, and how that can open up other doors for our students. And I also had the question, as the presentations were being presented, as far as getting the insight. A lot of times kids take classes and have, and I know because I've had students in 3 of the teachers that have given presentations, a lot of times they don't know what they want to do. And so I think even I heard elementary school up to high school, one of the programs would be able to be implemented to that. So finding a way to share the information with the students and their parents, so that they're able to see, what, I have an opportunity that would lead to a greater end, not just I have an interest, but providing the tools so that they actually are able to be successful with it. So that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Thank you.
Mr. President, this is Ms. Wester.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand what Ms. Terrell is saying, but when we're looking at this large dollar figure right now, and as you stated earlier, we are in COVID. We do not have the children in the schools. We should really be focusing on the CTE programs we have already. We have our culinary arts programs, and go ahead and add the additional to that to bring it up to par so that we can go into the public. We can use that as an outside catering source that will also bring in revenues without putting out $260,000 right now. Yes, I did vote for the cosmetology program, But when you start to look at it, and we don't have that big overall plan, we don't have a full plan as to where we're going. I mean, I'm a cosmetologist. I can see down the line, but everybody else can't. We need something that we can build on. Taking the classes and the CTE classes that we have and adding that teacher point and doing that, we need to build on what we have is where I say we should put those monies to and move our district forward. I can't see putting that money out right now in the middle of COVID at this point in time. That's just my 2 cents.
Board President, this is Bill Garland. I would just, I always want to protect the office of the superintendent and of central office period and the board. So this is just something for you all to think about. As we move forward, those rooms will be permanently altered in a way that they will be non-functional for any other program without serious alterations again. So I would like us to be very clear and certain that this is the direction we want to go in. Right now, they are set up for electrically for computer type programming and gaming and anything else that the district may want to do. I really feel uncomfortable, I guess, us altering those rooms. And I guess I feel this is the first time I felt like I can say that fully. To alter those rooms in such a fashion that it would cost another couple $100,000 to return them to a usable classroom. So just in your decision making, we will support what you decide, but in your decision making, take that to heart as well. Thank you.
May I please ask, how did we identify these particular 2 rooms? And being that there is going to be the expenses tied to it, how did we identify that these 2 rooms would be the best option to put forth this program?
Well, I could speak a little bit to that. I know Dr. Harlan can. He saw that they were underutilized and they had an exit door that could allow public to enter from that area. And so that's, I think, where the planning started. Now, no one was aware at the total cost that it would take to renovate these rooms. And so if we decided to do a salon moving forward, maybe that's part of the discussion. Do we take an old science room that may already have plumbing and sinks and things like that and turn that into it? I just think there was a rush to judgment on this.
One more question, please. So and I'm asking because I really want to know. The cosmetology piece has a instructional piece that is required. Is it a part of the program requirements that you have everything laid out prior to in order to be in compliance? So say, for instance, because part of the cosmetology, and I would assume it's also the barber piece of it, there is book instruction that goes on. There is class teaching that goes on prior to even getting to the part where you're actually doing the clinical piece, where you have your
theory. It's called theory.
Okay.
You got your
Is it a requirement as far as CT to be in compliance that you have to have the actual mechanisms that would allow that part of the program that's coming later on already in place? Or can that come after? Once we've identified, once we've gotten to the place where we've been able to get the planning committees together and maybe come up with some options that would allow to cut the cost of getting it started. Is that possible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Ms. Terrell, I mean, that's what we've been asking for, just some time. You know, we would like, you know, for this to be successful if this is where we're moving, but just some time to really vet this fully in a way that makes sense for the district. So that's a great suggestion.
If I may,
this is David Cooper. I'd like to just take a second and actually show everyone, to remind everyone, as we're making choices for this, we're trying to put our students first. I'd like to display the survey that we did, you know, before. This is actually questions from Dr. Harlan that we put out there to show the interest of everyone, just to kind of give a quick reminder of everyone. So if you give me a second, so everyone can kind of take a look at the results.
Thanks, Cooper.
You're welcome. I got a lot of tabs open right now, so give me a second.
Man, technology dude better get this right. I'm just saying, you got the pressure on you. Everybody's watching. You're the technology dude.
All right. So everyone should be able to see this. This is the results. These are the questions from Dr. Harlan came to me at the time and asked me to help him put this together. Just to kind of show in the cosmetology program that was showed there, I want to stress out there, if you look at this, the purple and the green, are they not interested and not at all? Okay, those are the largest portions in the cosmetology and the barbershop. Okay, what we want is the largest, obviously the blue, that you're extremely interested. And this orangish color, if you can kind of take a look at it, is the very interested. And the yellowish is the, you know, somewhat interested there. So you do have an okay amount of somewhat interested, but the not interested at all, the purple and the green, you can't get away from this. And that needs to be put into consideration right there when we're choosing these programs and help drive the direction that we're going through. You know, and a lot of these programs that were offered to them, culinary arts is pretty even across the board, but just kind of going through where we're at, if we're looking at it, the largest extremely interested is video game design. That's not programming, you know, per se. Okay, it's an aspect of it. But if we're looking at this, this is our largest interest right there. So, you know, and I'm not trying to be a downer, but right below this, our teacher education program is the largest completely not interested out of all these programs right here. You know, and I understand it's going to bring in money, but I hope and I want them to take this. Trust me, I want people to go into education, but we got to make sure we're putting in, you know, the programs that our students want to take. So I just want to show this, and as we move forward, this has to be consideration. I firmly believe we need to do another survey, get it out there, get more interest into it, push this to get the results in before we invest, you know, this kind of money into a program moving forward. And as Bill Garland said about altering rooms, back in the last, I believe it was, Richard, Bill, you can remind me, the last bond that we had in the early 2000s, those rooms were originally designed for computer programming, manufacturing classes in there. Why? Heck, I student taught in those classes and used to teach in those classes. That's what they were originally designed for. You know, I'm not saying they can't go away from that, but we need to, you know, again, make a full understanding if we're going to alter that. That's just, you can't go back from that. You really can't.
So fast, as an educator, I know I shared this, and I saw this before. I didn't know about it, but when I saw it, it flipped everything that I said. But, you know, I go to the teacher ed thing, and it hurts my heart because I put so much time into that. And my own children have seen what I have given to the field of education, and they're still not interested. They know the money that I make. They're still not interested. That's not an anomaly. Kids are not interested in education. We got to accept it. They're not. Okay. If I made my kid take this class, he would be furious. Dad, why are you making me take this teacher ed program? I'm not interested. So these are the things that I, as not only the superintendent, but also an educator, look, data don't lie. This is right in front of us. What is missing is the breakdown, though, that it's 516 kids, but I believe it was from 6th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And I'm like, you know, we don't know how many high school kids actually responded. It might have been 6th graders that fully weighted it. I know there it is. Well, thank you, group. So we get an idea what grade levels took, and it's still not a lot of, you know, it's not a great percentage. 509 out of a district that has, well, I guess that's not bad. Over about 1,000, 11 or 1,200 kids if you count the middle school and high school. But still, again, I'm saying if we're going to put this out to kids and then we do the opposite, then shame on us as adults. And I mean that, shame on us. We got to be different in the next district.
This is Ms. Kennard. I have a quick question for Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, on the survey, was there anything on that survey where the individuals who took the survey could tell us what they were interested in as an open-ended question? What is it that you're interested in? Did we have something on there to find out what they?
All I did is I took the questions that Dr. Harlan gave me because he approached me. What was the best way to get this out to our students? And I used his questions. There was no open-ended question on everything he gave me.
I may interject.
Okay.
When I gave you those questions for the survey, that survey was delayed, so you only really got 2 weeks of executing that survey.
And when was the survey done?
February.
I had to go back into the check. I forget, Dr. Harlan. Do you remember kind of?
It was in
February.
It was in February.
Okay.
And it was only given for 2 weeks.
This is Mrs. Beard. Again, I think that if weighing what everybody's been saying, I think we do need this plan. I think that we have an opportunity to hold off right now because of COVID. We don't have students physically in those rooms yet. I don't want to make a large investment and destroy a room, or not destroy it, but upgrade a room or change a room if we're not going to get a good investment out of it, especially if the interest isn't there. Doing that strategic plan, we can resurvey, put it out for longer than 2 weeks, as Dr. Harlan said, leave it open-ended and see where the kids come back with their interests at. And then we would have a better picture. We would have input from the students that are going to actually take these classes. That's kind of where I'm at right now. The $266,000 scares me. Our district has needed money to repair our buildings for so long. And I just want to make sure that we spend those dollars correctly.
So the elephant in the room for me is, if I can ask Sam or Shelley, what does this mean for our, and there's nothing that's out there. There's no vote out there or anything yet. What does this mean for our relationship with Barton Mallow and IDS, and what cost, you know, if we even postpone the project and we came back to it? I need to know dollars and cents there too, because I'm not sure we just walk away. I don't know how we can do that, but maybe that is the case. And I wouldn't even, I'm just asking that. And with Dr. Harlan, I know Dr. Harlan's expertise. I asked him, hey, could we combine the rooms and have one cosmetology and barbershop? He said, no. They have to be separate. Then I was like, well, maybe we just do cosmetology and we leave barber out there. I mean, as if we're looking for a compromise, maybe something that like we only do. No, I think William Garland. I think that's you. Mute.
Can I?
Yeah, that was. So that's all I wanted to hear from Sam. Sorry, Sam. I wanted to hear.
Could I? And Dr. Evans, could I interject for a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, just to come back to Ms. Beard and all the board members, if you go back and you look at that tape, first thing I said to you was that the cost of the CTE program is draining your general budget. You're not going to be able to afford these programs. I also too said, when I presented this whole plan and gave you all the documents, I said, it's not up to me if you want this or not. And if you recall, I said that. I said, I don't care if you take it or not. That's 60 hours that I put in it. But what the main thing is, the program I have right now is draining your general budget, and you can't go any longer because it's been going on for like 10, 15 years. Over $2 million in 3 years. That's not even counting this past year. That's the money that you're spending for your current CTE programs. How long do you think that those programs can continue, and you pay that amount of money that you have to say it has to be closed? And I said, let me get these two things here to at least pull that out of your general, so it would soften the cushion. The second year, and all you know, it's in the report. The strategic plan is the second year. That's a lot of partners coming together. I respect whatever decision you make because somebody else can take the program. But when the state comes out and said these are the top 10 programs, if you below that 10 or that 15, it's a no-go. They're not going to let you go. They're just going to say, well, you can have it, but we will not pay for it. Sorry about that. Thank you, sir.
All right, if I could jump in here to Dr. E's question, you know, IDS has time into putting these drawings together. Our fees were roughly just under $18,000. And we've completed the construction documents, which typically it's about 80% of the fee. So there's a remaining 20. If we were to shelf this, we would just basically charge up to that 80% of the fee. But the board member brought up something important was, you know, the sinking fund was passed for security, repairs, there's some athletics. Barton Mallow put an analysis together several years ago, back in 2018 when the sinking fund was passed, that as we play that out over the 10 years of the sinking fund, there still isn't enough sinking fund to cover all the things that were identified as needs in the district. So I just want to echo the sentiment that, you know, while we can shift things around, and if things like this come up with the CTE program or things like that, I echo having a strategic plan and a clear vision from the board on how we handle some of the upcoming repairs in the district, what the vision is for CTE, what the bigger picture of the sinking fund was. I think all those need to come into play, and that would make our lives easier if we had a clear plan ahead over the remaining 6 or 7 years of the sinking fund.
I'd like to make one final comment. I understand the need to be strategic about using the sinking funds and what the vision has been, but I'm also really just attracted to the point that we're pulling money out of the general fund. We're pulling money from that. We're losing money. We've been losing money. And so I think that maybe we need to, again, look at the fact that from the statement that Dr. Harlan just made, but also consider we don't have to stop. We don't have to get to the point where we can't go back. Maybe we need to scale it back. And that's why I mentioned the instructional piece first, which would not require the overhaul and spending the big dollars up front, but gradually working our way into it as we're developing the other pieces of it. I just feel like, and when you look at the bigger picture, we've already been pouring the money out. Let's stop the bleeding. Let's turn that around so that we have a cushion there. And then once you've done that, identify, okay, how can we move forward with what is successful? How can we move forward with adding? So if we were to come into the program, into this program with the $50,000, it seemed like that was something that everyone was comfortable with. But maybe we wouldn't even have to spend that in the very beginning, because we're talking about in the instructional piece, but also we're saving or leaving that window open. And then adding on to the other areas that we know as far as a survey is concerned. But if you put the brakes completely on it, it takes us completely out of the picture. And that's all I would hope that everyone would consider.
Are there any additional questions? Are we? Okay. Board President?
Oh, I'm sorry, you couldn't hear me, so I'm talking to myself. I was just saying, for me, I don't think we have a conclusion. I'll certainly let the board president do that. But I would encourage you to do just a simple Google search of the top 20 careers in 2020. Okay, just simple Google search and start looking. Okay, as we start moving forward, that's all it took for me. And I only looked at the top three. I mean, the bottom three from 25, 24, 23. But let's just take a look at that. You know, we keep saying it's easy to say this career, that career. Okay, but let's look at, I think that's having your due diligence and doing your research is to come and say, these are the top 20 in the next 10 years or in the next 20, that we have those, and we can maybe put some of those out there to kids, and we can put some of the ones that we like. I mean, cosmetology I don't have a problem with it. It's not for me. I don't have a problem. Teacher, get that. I probably wouldn't have done. There's no way I would have done it in high school. No way I would have done it. Because as a man, first of all, there would have been some pressure for me not to do it. Okay, things may have changed now. But I think that that's part of it. Why don't we look at the top 25 and see what are we willing to do? If we have 5 new programs, or we're able to take the things that we're doing, or maybe we commit to one that we have right now, yes. But let's look at what's happening in the world. Technology is the key. Okay, if you're not literate in technology, I don't know what to tell you. And I can tell you, I mean, with Washington, I can contact the president who gave me, she told me, she did a presentation on the top 15 jobs and why we should attend Washington Community College. Okay, being somebody's personal scheduler, that's top 15. I couldn't believe it. A personal scheduler? Yes, that. Esports was another one. I mean, those are just 2 that I thought of. And I was like, I'm sitting here discouraging my kid. I'm discouraging him. No, you can't do esports. Are you kidding me? And that's when I realized, you know what? I'm behind the times. I'm definitely behind the times. I got to start making a commitment to myself to be better and to look at some of these things so that I can be a champion for kids. I can't be a champion if I'm thinking that, oh, everybody wants to be a superintendent or something else. So I pledge to you that no matter direction that we go in, I'm going to do the due diligence, and I will be at the table, and I'm going to be bringing information so that you can make an informed decision. And then I'll move on. I don't have any personal skin in the game. Okay, I do care, but I don't have any personal skin in the game. I have a professional skin in the game, and I will bring you all the information that I can possibly share. I am committed to this. If it takes if you want another survey, we'll work on one, and we'll put out a fabulous one. Okay, a fabulous one that yields the information that you would probably want. I believe the board does believe in me and my leadership, and that I would do that I would take the time with my cabinet to produce anything that you want. Okay, and we will work in collaboration with Dr. Harlan. We're not leaving him out. Definitely not. He's got to be at the table. Okay, but we have to get some things in order. I guess proverbially, we need to get our house in order.
Okay, Dr. CTE works a little bit different because it's by regions. And when the regions every year comes out and says, what are the top 15 or top 20? That's how they dictate who's going to have what program. That's why I said that before, is that they dictate what is actually in our region, not the state, the region, region 29.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson. Thank you, Dr. Harlan. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this meeting up then if there's no further questions. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. It was very informative. Dr. Lafayette Laws, I thank you. I look forward to working with you. Dr. Harlan, your input is always invaluable, and all of our administrators and staff in the board. We will afford Miss Evans the opportunity for her public comment at this time before we adjourn. Miss Evans, if you're still with us, I'm going to give you the floor briefly.
Good evening. Yes, I'm still here. I do have a couple questions. The first one for Dr. Harlan, and it comes down to the dollars. If you foresee the future, when would we come to a zero balance to where you would say, yes, this is now we are starting to make some money on this program? Is it a 5-year program? Is it a 6-year program? What do you see?
Are you saying in just a part of clarity, what money has been spent so far or down the line?
Down the line.
Okay.
Are we ever going to come to a profitable line, a profitable line on our P&L statement for this CTE program? Yes. Or is it always going to be a cost?
No,
okay.
One of the things that happened that was built into this is that to make every program profitable. Don't forget, this has been neglected for over 10, 15 years. And even just each program upgrade is going to cost money. But each program could, within that 5 years, start to turn around and make it to the zero where it can be profitable and it can be self-sustaining.
Okay, so it's a 5-year program for profitability or to get to a zero balance. Okay, very good. And then also Belleville, in Ms. Wester, you might be able to feed into this regarding Belleville. Belleville at one point was handling the cosmetology for Romulus and Belleville. Do they still have their program in place? And if not, where did that go to?
Actually, that was before my time.
Okay.
So
do they still have cosmetology at the high school, Ms. Wester?
As far as I know, I don't believe so.
Right. So there's a failing program from that aspect also. Okay. And then the culinary arts is currently, Belleville has a culinary arts program also. You know, I don't know what their enrollment is, but it's a competitive district. They are taking our students just like everybody else, you know, everybody's running here, yonder, and everywhere else. So, but Belleville currently has a culinary arts program. And I guess one of my things is if we are starting to look at how we want to get new students, what interest students are. If you start at the elementary level, you should look at sports. Really, we have nothing until we get to the high school level. Well, no, the junior high level, and it's basketball. We don't have baseball. We don't have football at the elementary level. We don't have anything to attract the young, new students to come to Romulus.
Well, I don't think.
And I think that would be a better investment at this point. I agree with Dr. Edmondson. We need a strategic plan on how to really spend our money logically.
Yes, Ms. Evers, just to answer to one of your questions that you asked, Ms. Wesson, what happened was that CTE throughout the whole state is a small community. We all know each other. When I do the environmental scan, and of course we know each other, what happened was WMD4 came in and sucked up a lot of students from other districts. Now, when a student is at Romulus, and say I go to WMD4 for CTE, then what's going to happen is you're going to get half the money. And that's what really happened in this region here. WMD4 picked up a lot of students from a lot of districts. And that's why they have a base that they can improve a lot of things. Matter of fact, I think last year they made a major investment in their culinary arts. I mean, it's beautiful over there, but they also too struggling with students. But that's why when you have a conversation with individuals about what's our boundary line, what we say, what we call the gentleman's agreement. The closest one that you have is E-Course in cosmetology. They just got straight cosmetology. Taylor wanted to have one. They were going the same time we were going. So since we were knocked out, they have to send their students somewhere else. Now, the state give us the rankings. When they give us the rankings, that's what they're looking for. And believe it or not, one of the ones is agriculture, but I don't think we can, I mean, I mentioned it, but it's like, I don't know how many students be interested, but they are basically one of the highest paying programs in the state.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harlan. Thank you again, Ms. Evans, for your questions. For those that don't know, Ms. Evans will be joining the board in January, and we look forward to having her. Other than that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Wester. Can we have a roll call, please?
Kennard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Martell.
Yes.
8:19. Miss Piles had to leave early. She was sick.
Excellent. Meeting's adjourned. I'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you, everybody, again.
Thank
Have a great
you.
night. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm staying on for a minute. You have a minute?
Who are you talking to?
Oh. Well, I need to talk to you. So I'll
Well,
wait until.
I have to be the last one. You know, I gotta shut this
What did
down.
I miss? Did it end? I just went to the bathroom.
I need you to stop recording. Stop recording.
Hold on.
Oh, it ended?
Wait a minute.